Okay, I think we're good.
Cool.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Beyond the Cut. This is episode two, and I'm really excited to see everything that's going to come from this episode. This is my guest, Mr. Mathews. Um, I just, I'm really excited for this interview and this discussion that we'll have. Um, if you guys have any questions or comments, just put them down in the chat. But I'm really excited to see everything that's going to come from this episode. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, Victor Mathews. I'm actually out of New York, East Coast area, working in this film, television, music industry for quite some time now. I'm probably too old to think about how. I'm not even going to start to tell you that, but I've been in it for a little bit. Studied film, studied production in school. I actually started off as a music audio engineer. Loved that. When you get into college, it's like a communication arts program. You go through all the different parts of it: music, TV, film. Did all the music, then got into TV. Loved that. Then got into film. I really loved that. And just over the course of time, it's just been in production in mostly TV and in the film end of things, but lately been quite a bit in multicam TV out there. What else can I tell you? I mean, the rest of it is, I think Jonathan will explain some of it all, but that's the gist of it in a quick nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, was there anything in particular that really kind of sparked your interest? It's like implying that out of everything you had done up until that point, when you did start studying film, that you realized that this is what you wanted to do as a
Actually,
career?
when I came out of high school, I wanted to be a lawyer. I was a pre-law major, but there's no such thing as a pre-law major. There's you major in something, and then you go to graduate school for law. Which at that point I was in college and kind of started out at NYU, in fact, and
Hmm.
trying to decide what to do. Um, if I had known I was going to go into film, I probably would have stayed in NYU, but I didn't. I got out, went to community school, community college for a little bit to decide, and then a friend of mine said, you should really go into audio engineering. I mean, I was already in the music bit. It was back in the days of being in a band, back in church and things like that. And one of our close friends said, try audio engineering. I'd be good at it. I did it, loved it. Joined New York Institute of Technology as a production communication arts person, and then it just, for me, I'm not the doctor, I'm not the mathematician, I'm not the scientist. This has always been what I know how to do. It's just creative, just writing, whether it be stories or whether it be getting the concept of visuals. And I was always in the music, so music videos were always a big thing for me. And it's just one thing led to another. That's right. When I started taking that first TV production class, doing a little soap opera kind of story, it was great. I loved it. Then I got into film. Just the concept. The film is the most high that you can get, for me at least. That's just where I landed. Unfortunately, sometimes you're not in film. You're not always landing the job. You got to really. For me, a lot of opportunities in television came that paid the bills. So, and it kind of keeps you grounded there, and that's where I kind of landed more in because of the money. Started ringing. The money was the factor that I stayed in television, and film was more of a like a hobby at first, but it became my job. But the regular income came from a regular show on TV or something. So, because you could be done on a film set and you're done and you're looking for the next job. So it's not always back to back. Every person you ask on a film set working, it's on their last 2 weeks of that film, they're already hustling for the next thing. So that's why. But I just loved it, and I can do it on the multi-million-dollar level or the free level. I just love this part of it, the film, the TV aspect of it. So I think that's
Yeah.
just captured me, So from the get go, I don't think I know how to do anything else, So
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't. Yeah, anytime that I feel like I've looked at my resume, I'm just like, I'm a filmmaker. I don't think I'm anything else. Um, yeah. Was there something about TV? It was it the fact that yeah, it was a more sustainable income that drew
yeah,
you
I
towards
mean,
it?
back in the early, I mean, yes, I've worked in every aspect of TV, from soap opera to news to talk shows, which I'm still working on today. You know, I love multicam directing in the sense of, especially music. I mean, I'll do it at the church. I'll do it at live concert stuff. It's just, for plus me coming from with a musical background, I just know where every drum beat, every piano click, everything is happening. So it's just one of those things I can just call multiple cameras and keep it going. Likewise, music video, a single camera shoot. So it's just a matter of keeping calm and cool, and that's kind of where I would love to be more. That's it. News is great. It's probably a better income, and especially in this world of AI and everything, where everything else is changing, but news is always going to be there. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, I can't. Even though I think I'm kind of land. If I were to land and retire somewhere, I'd probably be a news director in some sort of way. But it can be, just imagine all the stories that were going on even today on the news, just day in and day out, directing news on air can, I pretty much want to say sometimes, but,
Yeah.
but yeah, where I work, I still do camera. So, the shows like Jerry Springer and Maury Povich, those kind of weird, crazy shows. I know we have a good crew up in the NBC's facility in Connecticut. So, we're there a lot in the union, with the IA union and all that. So it's just been a fun experience for me. It's kind of also because the group I'm working with, it's like it's an island away from corporate NBC itself, and and it's just been a great to just be on a regular there. If I were to pick a part of TV, I mean, yes, I would love to do music production a lot more. Things like halftime shows and things like that. Those are the things that would capture me more. I would, and just doing live music or different venues of that, multicam, things like that. But the days of the television, when it comes to sitcoms and all that, that's still film. That's still a world of, whether it be a 2-camera, multicam, or single camera shoot, it's still film style shooting. Soap opera days are dying. It's a dying breed. There's only a few left. The new vertical formats are those new Facebook formats that you see, the short story, the Asian Chinese companies do it a lot. It's the dramas. Those are the new form of soap operas. That's a new world of TV, or what's the Darman and the guy who's the feel good doctor guy. Those are all these little short form, long form, short 1 minute videos or vertical videos and things like that. Is the new soap opera. So,
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because I feel like with people's attention spans decreasing by the minute, I think it's a lot
yeah,
harder to try to
yeah,
entertain somebody, especially being in the entertainment industry for an extended period of time. Because if they're not entertained within 30 seconds or less than that, they're probably going to move on to the next thing.
right.
Which I feel is really disappointing because as people who work in the film industry, they put a lot of work into what they produce and what they make. I think for at least for me personally, I take a lot of pride in the content that I produce, and for people to not necessarily appreciate it at the level at which I put that much time into it, it's kind of deflating.
Mhm.
So, um, have you ever directed a music video before?
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, I did this Bollywood one first for this guy Jeffrey Iqbal. I've done a few, and I've worked on a few, whether from a camera perspective, and worked with a few different people on it as well. Yes, but on my Vimeo pages and stuff like that, you can see. I don't know if you ever had that link, but you could check all that out. So there's a few of them, and I'll continue to do it. It's music videos. Again, back in the day, when I was growing up as a kid, it was MTV used to be a real music video station. It's not anymore. Music videos are not like a channel itself, and people not going to that anymore. It's something to complement the album or record, So but it's still done. It's still, there's not much monetary value in it now. There's no, back in the day, you would hire a music director or a video director, and there'd be a purpose to it. It's not the moneymaker. It's just it's a tag on to the record sale, So, but yeah, and for me, telling a story through music, even when I'm writing something or doing something, I use music as my baseline to think of that next thought, think of that next plot line or the story or whatever it is. So for me, that just music video in itself it's great. I love cutting to the rhythm of the beat of something, So yeah, but
Okay, that's cool. I'm curious. Do you have a favorite part of production from pre to post, like that you just absolutely love the most?
So I always will say this: your production will be greatest if you do your pre-production very well. And you should think about post-production. You shoot to edit. Nowadays, I grew up in film style. I grew up where I'm using a chemical piece of film. Celluloid was being shot, and you can't waste celluloid. So you have to know your timeline, what you're putting into that video, into that film. So every shot should be planned without waste. You don't have that luxury. You'll see the stories of directors that that have miles of footage and just 1,000 takes and things like that. And I mean, you can, but think about the waste. Think about the time you're spending. And nowadays, you can do it more because it's digital cinema. You just shoot to shoot. But if you can always think of your edit line, exactly what you want in that final product, and then your pre-production, you do as much as you can do for your production will go as smoothly as possible. That's my favorite process. I love the heart of production, creating it all, but it's in the edit room where everything comes together. So when it's all done, all the high is done off set, you've worked with the actors, all the stuff. Hopefully you've got everything you needed, but it's in that edit room where everything comes together. There's been a film or something that I've worked on where, even short film and these narrative long forms, where you didn't get everything you want because the budget's low, you're running quickly, you're doing everything, and next thing you know, I got to make this work with what there is. I can't go back and do reshoots. It's not feasible, or it's too expensive. So that's where you get creative and you start maneuvering things around. So that's where I think post-production is where it all comes together, when you start blending in, and that day when you get the visual, the picture cut done, and then you go to put your sound cut in, the mix in, and then you bring it all together and it levels up. That's where I get a high. It's like, wow, this is like, you could hear it, you could feel it, you could see it, and it's coming into fruition. The production, I love the high that I get from doing it all, day of, on the set, working with, there's 1,000 things happening, but when it all comes together in post-production, that's where I get that's probably the satisfaction point, right? So completion is there. So, I think post-production might be my favorite. I used to be an editor at one time, so it's also, nowadays I'm sitting with an editor or something like that. So, but yeah, it's and if you're really tedious on splicing and dicing things, back when I cut it on celluloid on actual film, back when I was in college. So for me in the edit room, that was great. I loved it. I love splicing and all that stuff. But it's where it all came together. So
that's really cool. Yeah, because I feel like, at least for the project that we're currently working on, pre-production is, I think it took a little bit longer than I had anticipated initially. I think when we took on this project, I took on the role of executive producer because I was the one that was kind of spearheading this project, um, and I wanted to make sure that we had a clear path and we knew what we were doing. And also, I had all these connections with all these people, so I'm like, all right, I mean, I might as well just do it. And pre-production took a lot longer than I anticipated, and honestly, it was a major undertaking. Now that we're pretty much at the finish line for this one, to pretty much create a short film within under
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
Um, from pre-production to post-production, I completely did not understand and didn't really think in my head that it was going to take this long, and that it was going to be this much work. It didn't even cross my mind, because I'm just like, let's just do it. I'm like, I felt more excited to do this project in the first place, which was a good thing. Um, but timeline wise, I'm just like, I'm gonna try to give each phase of production 2 months, um, because initially, we wanted to have our a sequence handed off to our post production. I mean, our composer, um, by the end of December, and we had started pre production back in September, and
Mhm.
so we had gone through a lot of different challenges with editors, and we really didn't get a completed sequence from beginning to end until probably early January, and that in itself was really bad, at least for myself, because I'm like, I wanted to give him at least 1 to 2 months to work on the scoring of the project,
Right.
and we gave him less than a month, and then other unforeseen circumstances came up and it postponed the project even more. Um, and so those film festival deadlines that we were aiming for, we essentially missed all of those. And so we're saving it for next year, and still submitting into the ones that are still
But you're
coming
still in
out.
post production, right?
Yeah, I mean we're like, I'd say probably 97% done. Like it's just like minor color
It
grading
gives you a little
issues.
more time for post. You never know when you take it when you walk away from it, and sometimes you got to walk away from it, get a fresh
Yeah.
perspective on it. You'll see things that you don't see. So, and yes, you have to be against deadlines. That's part of the name of the game. But I think it might go for your benefit. You never know. Does just because you missed that one deadline, um, you might be able to take something, go back into post. You never know. You might see something differently, and you might change something. So
Yeah.
that's time you didn't have before, right? So because once you lock your picture, it's kind of locked. You can't. It's hard to go back and do all that. So but yeah, but and pre-production also, you don't always get the luxury of having a lot of pre-production on film sets
Mhm.
and things like that. The way it works is, I mean, a good pre-production, a good prep. There's always, like, as a first AD, when you're setting up a schedule, there's categories. There's prep, production, pre-production prep, and there's post-production. You have these itemized lines. So if you get a good time for prep, all the pre-production stuff, which is prep and pre-production, same thing, um, then you're golden. But you don't always get that,
Yeah.
and that's the luxury sometimes. But you got to work within those, right? I mean,
Hmm.
for me, from a directing standpoint, every shot I think about, I plan to the detail of. I mean, for me, I'm giving my DP notes of every angle and everything up until from lighting cues and all that. So then the DP can take control and do all that on set. But and as far as when you're planning set design and we're working with production design and working with sound and all that, you're getting all that stuff, thinking about all that in much in advance as possible. It'll make your edit go a lot more smoother. So the better you are in prep, the easier it will be. Doesn't mean you're going to get everything right. You're not going to get every I dotted and T crossed, but still, you get as close as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have so much left to learn about production and filmmaking that after we're done with this one, and I think it's in the archives, we're just gonna move on. I can already tell that my idea guy already has a lot of ideas in the pipeline, and I'm excited to see where we can potentially take those ideas. Um, but then it kind of brings into uh, the idea of budgeting and crowdfunding and doing stuff, learning how to do stuff like that, especially when we don't have a real budget. And everything that we had done prior to had come out of my own personal pocket. So I'm like, how can we, you know, uh, I guess try different things and be able to do something different and be able to get in different sources of income to help make this project come to life in ways that we didn't prior to.
And
So,
that's some of the things that they don't teach you in film school and tell you that and things like that. In the sense of, you walk out of film school and you're like, all right, I want to start making movies, or I want to start shooting, or I want to start that. But even if you have your own project, if you're done, you're still the guy. As a director, you're the guy who's got to pitch that. You got to sell that. You got to do all that. It's a business degree in itself, or a sales degree. You don't,
yeah,
or you had to go crowd fund, or finding money, financing to do it. Those are all things that, you're pretty much begging. I mean, there's some good producers that know how to do that well. I have a good friend, or different people out of California and New York that do all this kind of producing. That's like one of the keyest things is getting connected with a good network of people that specialize in these things. You have the writer, you have the producer, the director, a good core team. There's always somebody who's knows how to wheel and deal and find, and know how to get on the phone with somebody to find money, or turn to the next place or something like that. Those are things that, from a directing standpoint, at least for me, camera director, like that's not my cup of tea. That's like, it's not my, that's where I am good at. So, I
yeah,
mean, for you, from an executive producer, there's a lot of wheeling and dealing. There's a lot of stuff that's happening, so,
yeah,
and you're negotiating constantly with everybody.
yeah.
So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been good, at least from my perspective, at least for what we're currently doing, because essentially there's nothing really at stake. There's no real money at stake. It's just my own personal finance, and it's been minimal at that cost. But it's good that we're, at least for me and for the people that I've brought and surrounded myself with, that we're learning now, because when there is nothing at stake, uh, as opposed to learning all these things for the first time when there is money at stake and when people are funding us and we don't know what we're doing, I think that's a problem. And I'm thankful, and it's as stressful as this has been. I'm thankful that I've been able to learn along the way, so that when those types of opportunities do arise, then I will have some relative knowledge as to how to potentially go about doing this, as opposed to doing it for the first time with somebody else's money and not knowing how to properly manage it, as opposed to, yeah, it's my own finances. How can I best steward it so that we're not squandering it, and it goes to the right people, it goes to the right processes in which phase of production. I think, yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think it all goes to, these are things that are not taught. At least I mean, I'm at a place in my collegiate career right now that I'm still in the prereqs of production, so I still have, after this class, um, in my senior year, I'll be able to start being able to take more production based classes, and those are more hands on and more, they're in person. So hopefully I'll be able to get that more hands on experience. But frankly, I feel like I've done more learning that has been self taught than anything that a college has taught me thus far, especially regarding filmmaking. So, yeah.
Right. I mean, experience is your best teacher, honestly. It's, like if I had a dollar for every kid that, myself included, come out of film school or whatever, ready to like conquer the world, and think it's not that simple. There are lucky breaks people get. Yes, you have your own script. I mean, content is key. The world is changing. It's AI driven now. Everything's different. Where I started out with, I had a crew of, multiple people, had an audio person, a camera person, just that. It's an AI that can do everything now, even down to the writing, which, but at the end of the day, content is key. There's still creative content out there. If you've got the brains to create stories, tell the stories,
Yeah.
The tools might be different, and the world might accept this AI. The pandemic changed a lot. We're doing this Zoom kind of concept. Even news stations, look at every CNN, every channel. Everybody started doing telephone interviews, whereas otherwise, early days, you had to go to a satellite truck, go to a broadcast studio, do all. The pandemic changed the world. With now, this is accepted. Zoom interviews on network TV wasn't accepted, and with phones, nevertheless, with real crappy footage, like it's not the greatest quality, but it's people accept it. Nobody. Same thing with film too. It's gonna change, but at the end of the day, content is still there. What you create in your mind, that story, those are still. If you got stories to tell, that's gonna stick around. So. Digital cinema is constantly changing. It's evolving. The people like the Christopher Nolans, the Spielbergs that want to hold on to the preserved film, they can do it because they've got the finances, they've got the means, they've got the pedigree behind them to do that and say, this is what we want to do. But everybody else, what you can do with your iPhone is what quality we were shooting at, not even at that quality, what we were shooting at network TV back in, 2000 or 90 or whatever it was, or whenever I started out, but that's that, but, but that's where so yes, it's always learning, get on film sets, just keep on learning, that's as long as you keep on doing that and create content, just don't be afraid to take your phone out and shoot content, so, and that's the way to go. So, and that's better than film school, honestly. You'll still learn on set. There's so much lingo to learn on set. You could learn all the textbook theory stuff and learn, French cinema and, noir cinema and all that stuff that you get in classes, but you still have to learn on set. You have to learn, the simplest of things. Like, you might not know this. Like, I think one of my earliest days back in like 20 years ago, walking on a set, and you got the grips and the gaffers yelling points. Do you know what points is? Point. So basically, when you're walking on, when they're with a C-stand or something, and you're walking through hallways or walking on a pointy object is coming at you, you're just yelling out points. That means, be careful. Somebody's walking behind you with something that could poke you, or this simple lingo that is so common, like I didn't understand. And I had asked the first AD, what does that mean? And then everybody kind of laughed at me, but that's part of it is, so that's simple little things like that. There's simple lingo that you learn on set, on experience, and that you'll get. So,
I agree. I think that's really important. I mean, like you said, experience is the best teacher. I've seen that firsthand in my own life. So I guess tying it back to what you were saying earlier, do you see a world where AI will take over, or will completely, take over the entertainment industry?
For a good portion, I would have said that a year ago. It was happening, and your dad and I know each other, so we have a common friend. He passed away a couple of years back, but he created his name was Subin, and I remember having a conversation with him. This is before we get to AI. He created this company. He was developing the DVD, the CD the liquid crystal that makes that manufacturing component. So you built this entire warehouse, and for DVDs, because we were stepping from the world of VHS going into DVD, and it's like, so he created the DVD, and so now he's contacting record companies. He's a print shop, but he's investing in the actual manufacturing product of the crystal that makes the DVD disc. And I told him back then, I said, this is when cable and everybody was starting to the internet IP protocols were starting to come out. I said, at a certain point, I know you invested on all this, but it's going to go away. There's not going to be a DVD anymore. There's not going to be a crystal disc anymore. It's all ones and zeros, bits. That's going to happen. It's going to, hence, years later, Spotify, Apple Music, everything is just, everything went away. Everything is just download, a stream. Netflix was a DVD company turned into strictly stream. Now it's a movie studio. So just like that, AI commercials are already settling for AI. So if you're a company, you're XYZ company, I want to create a quick commercial to promote my product. The numbers are going to make the sense, right? The bottom line is, okay, an AI can punch in and do this, and it might not look extremely film-like or noir-like or whatever, but you can look at the commercials that are out there. They're already being done with AI, and they're without a 20-man crew or a 100-man crew, lights and actions and blowing up, all that stuff. It's already being done. Commercials are already the first to use it heavily right now. Film, will it get replaced? So as a first AD in the world of the DGA, I remember attending a few meetings. So the SAG contract, the Screen Actors Guild contract, if you're a background actor, they're the ones that a couple of years ago, they were the first ones to start losing their jobs. So in the early days, you have a gladiator scene where there's 1,000 Roman people behind you, all that, or a big crowd scene where 1,000 people in the streets, you need background. You just have to hire them for the first day, a couple actors, a good 100 of them, whatever, get their faceness and their likeness, and you know how AI works. Now you're manipulating. So you don't have to put them at the principal out there in the main scenes, but as far as background, so a background actor who's making maybe $200 a day or something, as a background coming in each day, you're coming in for one day and signing off your right to be using your likeness forever, and that's it. It's done. So they've just lost. Think about the work that they've just lost. So 30 days of work could have just turned into 1 day of work now. So yes, certain things like that. Yes, there's AI cleaning tools for music, AI cleaning tools for editing right now. There's a lot of stuff that will it completely take over? Like I said, the only thing that can last at the end of the days, and I say this to people that are asking me this question too, AI is a computer that's always learning, right? We're always learning as human beings, but our brains only compute so much. The AI is learning it. Everything that we put in, even the mistakes, regenerates it, recalculates everything, and spits it out again. It might spit it out, the image is this way or that way, but eventually it's constantly learning. Like any technology that's come around, it's constantly learning. So it's yes, it will get better, and it will come to, it's all about prompts right now. It's about creating the right prompt to tell it what to do. I used to storyboard everything for my shots. I am guilty of it now. I use AI to start my storyboarding process. So I'll pull in images and everything. I'm not a drawer. I can't draw. So I used to have somebody draw it. In the early days when I met my wife in college, she would draw my storyboards for me. But, now I can have AI just draw out everything, So will it take over? Again, I say content is key. It's still, if you've got a story to tell the story. Will AI have a story to tell? Probably. It's taking in all our information, right? So, but that's that.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I remember at the Super Bowl, I think it was a Coke commercial that you could just tell it was just AI. And I think that for me, that was the first time that I had ever seen like a major company like Coke.
This past Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at all this past Super Bowl. Everything was AI. Even the commercials promoting AI. So it's,
That's
that's
true.
almost every commercial was an AI commercial promoting, whether it be Chat GBT or Google or something or another. It's promote, so it's come, it's changing a lot, so
Yeah, because I I had gone to a seminar um, about business owners with AI companies, and it kind of got me thinking because most of the people there were established business owners with in their own respective fields. And it kind of got me thinking. I was like, okay, like I'm pursuing this goal of being a filmmaker, but in the event that something happens, will I be? Because that was one of the biggest things that they were emphasizing is that you either try something new, switch it up instead of, or you continue doing what you're doing, and sooner or later you become obsolete. You know, and so to me, I was just like, okay, is there something that I can do to, um, I guess, kind of pivot my business a little bit, so that if something like that were to happen, you know, that is still regarding to film and somehow incorporating AI into my business. Um, how can that work? And so, personally, I'm not a big fan of AI videos. I think some are funny and entertaining. Um, but I think when it comes to when you're putting a lot of time into producing content, I'm not I'm not trying to replace the stuff that you're making. And so I found a resource that we were considering using for this specific project, um, that is a video enhancer, but uses AI to enhance the video from, say, either 360p, 720p to 4K. And I was a little skeptical because I'm like, I'd never seen that before. Um, did a little bit of research on it, but I was just like, is there something that I could potentially build and or develop that instead of taking the easy way out and just putting in a prompt, you continue to use the content that you're making, and even if it's low quality, is there a way to enhance that, but still being able to use that in my business directly instead of just saying kind of like in video or what are the other ones? There's Artist.io, where you just put in a prompt and it'll generate, or even Sora, where you just put in a prompt and it'll just generate it for you. I like the process of making a video, um, but more often than not, I think one of the biggest things that annoys me is the quality of the video after it's all said and done. Like if it was up to me, every single one of the videos I've ever made will be in 4K, just because I just like how crispy it looks. But because it doesn't, I'm just like, is there something out there that could just enhance it instead of replacing it altogether? Um, yeah.
So AI is, like you said, there's tools. There are great tools: sound design, sound enhancement, music, picture color, all that. What you just said, AI can color correct for you in an instant, compared to
Yeah.
even just on your phone alone, it can do so many things. So um, in that sense, that's great. I'm not, just like you said, I am not for popping in a bunch of fonts and creating a
Mhm.
story. I can't, sorry, not fonts, commands and creating an AI, having AI create a whole story. People do, people write whole scripts like that. Even screenplay seminars that I've been on, they're using AI to write your paragraphs. I mean, then again, kids are all using AI for their essays and projects now, right? If I had AI, I mean, God, if I had AI back when I was writing essays in school and stuff, I would be so much better. But yeah, will it take over completely? Maybe not, because you still need people that are generating the commands for it, but will it come pretty close to doing a lot? Yeah. I know you're live. It got dark. I'm gonna just open up some light. It's getting darker. The sun was out, so I kept off. One second. Keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think I had seen a while ago I seen it on Instagram where people had completely generated a full-on movie trailer, but it was completely AI. And I think more than I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was actually a little disturbed by it because I was like, that's actually, like, it's not that far off from looking real. And I think when you've seen enough videos, you can kind of tell if it is or not. Because I think that's also another thing is, if you can't always tell if something's real or if it's AI or not, which is already, I think, a problem in itself. But that was the first time that I was a little bit concerned about with a full-on movie trailer, would that essentially or could replace. That was the first time that I felt not necessarily threatened but concerned that it could replace the entertainment industry. And then I was just like, then again, you have to understand the demographics of people, and would people actually go and pay 15, 20 bucks for a ticket to go see a fully generated AI movie? I don't know. I feel like it could come to that point, but I don't know if it's at that point right now. Because I know my dad definitely told me, what if I did something like that? And I was a little hesitant because I'm like, I'd prefer not to do something like that.
Well, think about your sentence. Think about your sentence that you just made. Would you go spend 15, 20 bucks? And I mean, that's the other big battle right now too. Theaters, we're trying our best to preserve it, to go see shows. I mean, like this Warner Brothers deal that's happening, should Netflix, now that Paramount is going to buy it, we'll see what happens. But if Netflix bought it, the world of stream is where it's the same conversation I was telling you with the guy who made the DVDs. It's like, theater is slowly going away. It's just, I hope it doesn't. I'm also guilty of, just because of time and our busy schedules, I just want to come home and I'll watch it here. Even our DGA screeners that we get for the movies with the Oscars and all this stuff, everything's digital now, given to us. We used to get actual films. We would actually get DVD. Now everything's changed. So yeah, just to answer think of that. If if you generate making something through an AI, would you want to go spend $15, $20 in a theater to see an AI movie? I mean, you got two problems in the question right there, in the sense of, first, you're going to go to the theater. Nowadays, is anybody going to the theater? And second, will you watch it in an AI movie when you have a stream? That's what I'm seeing that's happening. I feel people are watching because it's so accessible. That's it. Yeah. If things weren't when I was growing up, getting a film camera was not accessible. It was a luxury. It was expensive. To shoot a film, it was expensive. We're shooting on chemical, celluloid. We can't, film cameras, 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter expensive, but now what you can do on your phone is 24p framing. So, it's the more accessible things are, the more easy push button and go kind of thing. That's what people are going for, right? So you adapt. Like all things, you adapt. And you're young. I tell my son the same thing, who's also jumping into this film industry now. Just keep creating. Don't stop creating. Do it whatever way you can. It's okay to be nostalgic. It's okay to shoot on film. He loves Fuji cameras and he loves the green look of a Fuji camera and things like that. But, be ready to adapt. If I tell you, if I cannot emphasize, and if I can only emphasize, work with the AI, learn it, every aspect, every program. If it's not just to create the entire film, at least for my prep, it makes my life so much easier. We're pitching a game show. I created a whole pitch deck, in an AI format. I keep telling it, building the sets, doing all this stuff in an AI format. That's what I'm selling to the NBC producers and things like that for a game show. It's a DIY game show that we're doing, and I used AI to create this actual pitch deck, to look at this, the set design, just to tell the story. Things like that, yes, go for it. So the world of multimedia and everything, it's not going to all go AI. You're still going to have shows out there, talk shows, things like that out there. You don't want to watch. If I had to watch a show like The View with the four ladies, hackling each other, if that was all AI, I don't know. It'd probably turn me off. If it turned fake after a while. So, or a political correspondents talking and ranting at each other and all in AI. It's like Puppet. Then it's like you might as well get Sesame Street back out and do that. So, but.
So with that being said, do you think that it is easier to break into the film space now, or was it easier when you did it?
It's probably easier now because it's more accessible. You can shoot. You're doing even just technology like this. Just doing this wasn't as feasible back then. For me, like getting a camera, going out and shooting, it was an expensive. It's a luxury item. But now you can shoot on 24p or a Blackmagic and Netflix approved camera and create a film. It's not, and it's a lot cheaper. Camera equipment is cheaper or rentable at this point. Whereas back when I was doing it, it wasn't that easy. That's the only part of it. It was a very eclectic nostalgia kind of career. Now everybody's doing it. So, that's a, difference, but also it's you can self-distribute. You can make your film. You don't have to go to Hollywood. It was called a negative pickup deal back in the day, where a producer or a distribution company would pick up the negative and then distribute your final film. That's why But now you can put it on YouTube and distribute. Yes, you got to create financing for it. Okay, you shoot low budget, then you self-distribute. If you want to market, then you have to create an advertising plan, do all that. You can do that. Whereas back in the old days, you have to wait till MGM comes calling, or CBS comes calling, or Warner Brothers comes calling. You got to sell it. That's how it was. You can put your film on YouTube and try to market, create SEC marketing or whatever it is, what it's called, and get hits. And hopefully, the more hits you get, that's when you get noticed, right? So you can do it that way. You'll spend the money doing it yourself, but yes, you can do it at least. So it's more accessible. Like all things, it's more accessible. It makes good and bad content because there's a lot of bad content and good. There's everything out there, but but it's accessible.
Yeah, that's a good point because. I think at one point when I started my production company, I thought about being able to build it up and build up a portfolio and build up a rapport. If I wanted to work with major studios, they could look at my portfolio and see my work and see if they would want to work with me. But I think that what you said kind of raises a valid point. In its own sense, to a certain extent, might be easier to be independent than to work for a major studio. Because
financing, right? I mean, if you can find another creative way of pitching your idea to, you could go to mom and pop dry cleaner company rather than going to film financier specific, so. That's all. You can find your own financing somehow, self-distribute, and you're good. I mean, it's easier said than done, but it's out there. It's possible.
It's true.
Story is key. If you have a good story to tell, right? That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, when you, I guess, started in this space and you started developing a more professional career, Um, was there a specific project that you had to say no to due to the convictions of your faith that are based off your faith? Was there something that you knew not necessarily wouldn't have been morally correct, but they were still paying you to do so? Would you has that happened to you, and did you have to walk away from that, or you decline that offer due to those circumstances?
And I could bring the stories back to where, like, I kind of grew up with your dad and other people. They know me. I've kind of been a rebel in certain things too. So, first of all, from my background, where I come from, and your, it's not, I can't even say your background because you, my son, and everybody, they're all, it's a different age group, it's a different time. Things are so much easier. But back then, going to film, it's like you're an Indian kid. You had one profession. It's either a doctor, an engineer, it's this and that. Going into film, it was just not. It just didn't work. And nevertheless, in my specific area of being an Indian, in my religious background of, Pentecostal Malayali kind of thing, it wasn't. It wasn't the place to be. Nobody got what I did. Nobody understood what is it that you do, whatever. So yeah, so moving into that, I just getting it out, that in itself was like, some people were like, what are you doing? You're kind of like going into this, what realm are you going into? So, then, so I've done everything across the board. Funniest thing is in my college thesis film, you know how you teamed up with the writer, with the producer, so just like that, we teamed up a network, and the guy that we wrote this, it was a great film, but the actors, everything went wrong. You're casting like a real casting director, holding casting sessions, doing all this stuff. We got everything. Then we come to film shoot day, the guy never showed up, our principal actor, or he decided. So then everything changed. We had to rewrite, and we were out against a deadline. We had to make a film festival, and then my writer rewrote everything, based everything on a love scene. So technically, my thesis film was a love scene, So it's like I probably broke a whole corridor, all barriers right there in college itself. It's like I felt like I was, it was a tasteful love scene, but it's still, when you're showing it in that film festival, it's your chest is dropping because you feel like you shot a pornography or something. So that's what it felt like, But so that was that. I've worked on things from all ends. I've worked on Jerry Springer of all people. If you ever know what the Jerry Springer show is, it's a crazy, crazy show. But I've worked on everything across the board. I don't throw myself away. I'm not going to go sit there and go shoot pornography or anything like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do these kind of things. But I'll hold on to my faith. You're on set. You got to know how to ground yourself. Don't let yourself go. I'm not the best of Christians. I'm not the perfect Christians. I'm, sometimes I feel like I'm in Al Pacino, I'm the one who puts the hand in the holy water and sizzles. So, if you can get that joke, I don't know if you will or not, but, but it's just not, I will pursue all of it. When it comes, yes, there are some things that are, if it's, when it comes to my morals of my beliefs, if it's against it, if somebody asks me to, that's a different story. I won't bend over there. I'm not going to, but fortunately I didn't have to go into pornography or anything like that to do in this world or anything. I can't, but is there movies where violence is a big thing? Is there a lot of cursing? Is there things like, I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to, it's not me. That movie's not me. I will, for one thing, for me, even as a director story or whatever, I'll tell it raw. If there's cussing involved in it, if that's the way, if I'm telling the story on the street, that's how the street is portrayed. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it and make it, I'm going to tell it raw, so, so there are, I will, I'm not going to, change those things, or I'll not work on a project because of those things. But has it taken me away from my faith? I've stayed strong as I can with my faith, and I still do. I enjoy doing church stuff. I work for the TBN network. I work for all these the Huckabee shows and the Metaxases and all these people. I still do music, gospel music concert style. So the thrill of even at a church concert or something with like the Taya concert. When you feel the vibe when she's singing, the music is pumping. I'm cutting 3, 4, ready, 2, 1, 2. Things like it. You feel it. I like it. So I'll do that, and then I will work on a Jerry Springer. I work on a gun shoot show or a violin show or whatever. Hold your morals. Don't keep your faith grounded. Step on set. Every day is a gift from God. If you're working in this industry, even before I take a camera move on my jib, on a crane jib, I'll say, Jesus, help me with the shot. That's just me. Whether it be silent or whatever, that's the way I am, because this disappointment in this business is high. You need every help you can get, but I work in every aspect of it. Just because a film it's R-rated or think I'm not going to not work on it. That's just me. But I don't everybody has their own choice of that, so that's where it doesn't mean I have to give into those values of that film, so I tend to not write in that way, but I can't say that too. I am writing something right now that's kind of telling things as it is. So but yeah, that's where I stand with that. That's kind of a deeper conversation. That's like pick a topic and let's move on into it. What do you think of this particular thing? And we'll talk. But no, it's never compromised me. I'm not the actor. I'm not getting into bed with somebody, and my wife is at least I don't have to worry about that. I'm not that, or worry about a kissing scene or things, the things like you probably have to worry about, so it's not that I have to worry about. So, but.
Yeah, because I think at one point when we were in the beginning phases of pre-production, the writers that I had creating the script for this, they had a really good idea initially, and then that kind of one of the writers kind of took it in a different direction, which was fine to a certain extent. But then she did incorporate a kissing scene, and I was just like, no, we're not doing that. Simply because these were actors that I never worked with, and this was also my first time working with professional actors who wanted to make a good first impression, especially as a producer, being their only point of contact, because we really didn't have, to a certain extent, we really didn't have like a casting director to be that point of contact for them. So I was the one communicating with them, working around their availability when we could shoot and whatever. So I wanted to accommodate them in the best way that I could. And so when I heard that from one of my lead writers that somebody else had kind of changed that, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. And so we got rid of it, and it was better. And it was action movies. So I really enjoyed doing that, because I love action movies. My favorite film franchise is John Wick. Like I love action. I hopefully one day I'll be able to make one. But yeah, because I don't know. Maybe because I haven't had that many opportunities to date regarding that, where I've had to choose, or I have to really decide between, is this actually good for my morals? Is this Christ-like? Would Jesus want me to do this? I've been faced with those types of situations, but I know that, making sure that I'm grounded in my faith and knowing what I'm willing to do and what I'm okay doing, what I'm somewhat okay doing, and what I absolutely do not want to do. I that is important for me to know, and something that I need to keep in mind for the future about, making sure that I'm not going to compromise just because it's a paycheck, or that they're going to pay more than I would have expected just to do something. I'm like you said, I'm also not an actor. I'm not the one doing it, but also I don't want to put somebody in a situation where they have to decide.
And when you get to other levels of things, and there's departments for all that, because you have there are, you have a relationship. Um, um, I think I'm going to lose you in a second because I see my power going out. So we're going to have to cut short in a second because something's flickering here and my generator
Okay.
is back again. I don't know if the storm is coming in or not, but what I say is there's intimate relationship coaches that are there for all that kind of stuff too. So, um, but I why did I just lose you? Because I
No.
don't hear you. Right.
Oh, I think I just lost your video.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. I can see you, but I think you froze. All right, everybody. I appreciate you for showing up. Yep. Comments are turned off. um, yeah. Well, thank you guys for showing face. I really appreciate it. Um, with every episode, I love gonna make sure that. Okay. Um, thank you, Kevin. Um, to end off this episode, oh, there you go. All right. Well, I think that'll be it for today's episode. Um, yep, that's totally okay. Um, well, before I finish, appreciate Kevin for showing up. Thank you. Appreciate you guys for showing up. I'm gonna do as we end this episode. I'm gonna end it the same way I ended the first episode. And I hope I can continue doing this moving forward. But I'm gonna end with a blessing. So from number 6:24 through 26. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Really appreciate it. Oh, hold up. Or not. Can you hear me? Please stand by. Thanks for your patience, guys. Okay, so thank you guys for showing up. I really appreciate it. This has been a great episode. Hopefully, we can run it back shortly. But I think it was a really good conversation, and um, yeah, I think that there are some really good things that are going to come of this moving forward. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you guys to see the people that I have on moving forward. I think they're really quality people, and I think that they're going to add a lot of value to these conversations. Um, yeah, I mean, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. I know I have, and I hope that you guys. Um, yeah, I really hope that this series so far has pushed you guys this far, and yeah, I just want to say thank you for your support, um, and yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your evening.